Hi guys, welcome back to part 2 of the FIRE series. In my first video I talked about what FIRE means by definition, I talked about where it all started and some pros and cons to this FIRE movement or approach to finances. It should be linked above now, so feel free to go back to the first video if you want to be in the know. In today's video I'm going to be specifically talking about 4 different approaches to FIRE. 4 approaches include leanfire, F.I.R.E, Coast FIRE and Barista FIRE. So if you don't know what these mean, then don't worry because I will go through each and every one of these by definition. I'd be super interested if by the end of the video you tell me which one you would probably choose if you were approaching or looking to do FIRE. And if you're already on a FIRE journey, then I'm also curious to know what approach you're taking. At the end of the video, I will share the approach that we are taking. So as I said in my first video, the FIRE journey that each person is on is of course really unique to a person according to what their goals are, what type of life they live now, what type of life they want to live after they achieve financial independence, and also what would work best for themselves and their family and where they're at in life. So let's first start with leanfire. So leanfire refers to when somebody plans to have an investment pot that would allow them to live a life slightly below average. So whether you want to call that slightly frugal or minimalistic, it's up to you. But their expenditure would be slightly less than the average person. So for instance, in the UK, back in 2019, the average weekly spend per household was £572, which is equivalent to £2,288 per month. So that's generally how much people are spending per household in the UK, £2,288 per month. So someone who's trying to achieve lean FIRE is probably looking to spend less than this on a monthly basis. They may be looking in the 1800 region or the 1700 region. I'm just throwing some numbers out there. It could be any number, but generally they would have less expenses. So they may have less expenses because they live in cheaper housing. So they may not have a house, they may have a flat, for instance. They may decide that they don't ever want children, so that's a huge expense that they never have to worry about. And generally, they may just live a minimalistic lifestyle. So if someone is living a minimalistic lifestyle now and they want to achieve FIRE, then they most likely would be happy to live in a similar way once they reach financial independence. So again, this very much depends on the type of lifestyle that you have now and the type of lifestyle that you want once you achieve FI. Really good thing about lean FIRE is that because you have less expenditures, you will need to save less money overall. So your investment pot could be smaller because you have less expenses to cover on a yearly basis. So now let's talk about fat FIRE. So fat FIRE is basically the complete opposite of lean FIRE. It means that you live a fatter lifestyle and you need a fatter investment pot to live off of. So someone who's looking to achieve fat FIRE hope to live a more luxurious life after they achieve financial independence. They aren't living an average life per se. They probably are looking for more luxurious holidays, some luxurious cars maybe. They may want to send their kids to private school. There's those types of things that they may be looking towards, and because of this, they need a larger investment pot in order to live this lifestyle. Now, in needing a larger investment pot, there are 2 things that really can be considered here. Either you have a high income so that you are able to save a lot of money to achieve that fat FIRE. Another thing is it can potentially take a lot longer. So, you know, there are some people who say I need $1 million or 2 million, but for people on average salaries, to get to an investment pot of $1 million or 2 million is going to take them a lot longer to achieve it. So they're not looking maybe to achieve it in 10 years, they could be looking to achieve it in 20 or 30 years. So Coast FIRE. So the idea is you would save a pot of money up until a certain age or up until a certain point. So say for instance, somebody is 30 years old and they're going to save £60,000 from now until they're 40 years old. So they've got 10 years to save this. Someone who is looking for Coast FIRE would then have that £60,000, leave it invested for a certain amount of years, so let's say 20 years. So they could leave that £60,000 invested for 20 years. And if someone was to do that and get an average 7% return on a yearly basis, for instance, then they would have just under £250,000 just from the interest. So with Coast FIRE, it's heavily relying on the compound interest and time to really make a difference on the amount of money that you will have by the time you reach FI. So this is really helpful for people who don't really want to retire at all, or don't want to retire early. They want to, though, have extra money when they retire, so they want to live a very comfortable life once they reach retirement. So they're going to save a certain amount of money, and then they're just going to leave it to work with the compound interest until they need that money at a later date. And the very last one is Barista F.I.R.E. So this approach is when somebody plans to still work leisurely as they achieve FI. So they've got to the point where they've got their FI number and they say, yep, I've achieved this, but I'm not going to stop working completely. In fact, I'm going to work 50% of the time now, or 20% of the time. So they would reduce their work, or they may even change the type of work that they do, e.g. become a barista. So this barista approach is something that we are looking towards, and that's because we don't really want to necessarily fully retire once we've reached FI. So our plan is to become financially independent in the next 10 to 12 years. I'll speak about that in my first video, which should be linked above now. And so in 10 to 12 years from now, we'll be in our early 40s or just approaching our 40s. Really, we probably won't want to retire and stay at home. We'd get bored really quickly. So in practical terms, our investments would pay for things such as housing and utilities, food, transport, clothes, even some miscellaneous subscriptions and things like that, phone bills. But it would not pay for things such as holidays or luxuries, a luxury bag or some luxury clothes. In this case, the investments just pay for the main expenses, and then we just kind of work for fun because we're working to fund our fun money, essentially. This is the approach that we've chosen. I think it gives that nice balance between being financially free and not having to worry about any expenses, but also still needing to work just a little bit just to have that extra bit of fun you may want. So again, I'd love to hear what you would personally try to do if you were trying to achieve financial independence. And if you are already on this journey, I'd also love to hear what approach you are more aligned with or what you're planning to do. So again, I hope you've enjoyed this video and you've enjoyed part 2 of this series. In part 3, we will be going through how to calculate your very own FI number. So how much money would you need in order to be financially independent? So if you're interested in that and you are not subscribed to this channel, then please, of course, do hit subscribe so you'll be notified as soon as I upload a new video. And of course, if you like this video, then a thumbs up is always really nice to see as well. So that's it today. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.